aside from the obvious fuel leak and some dodgy wiring, the fuel pump is not secured at all and not properly grounded, which might account for the fact that it makes a very odd and erratic noise when the ignition is turned on. Let's check the operation of the fuel pump. Going to clamp the fuel line. I'm going to remove the fuel pump so that I can secure it properly and also clean out all of this gunk that's in here. Give it a bit of rust treatment. So I need to get into that. Joint there, which is extremely loose. Well, that connector is probably the lightest bolt I've ever come across. Certainly the reason why this fuel pump is leaking, because that hasn't been connected securely, and thus the fuel is leaking. Try and pry this off here with a chisel as opposed to a screwdriver. It gives me a little bit more room to work with. There we go. It's off. You can see the earth points over there, covered in gunk. Clean up all of this muck, sort out this wiring. So, another bad connection there, because the little pump fluctuates when it's switched on. The ignition switched on. When the ignition switched on, the pump fluctuates, so there must be a bad connection here. It certainly looks like this fuel pump has been leaking for quite a while. That was my earth point for this. That was the earthing point for this bug pack fuel pump. Not ideal. Let's try. Move this out of the way so that I can clean that. Loosen all of this gunk. Just going to block off the end of the fuel line there so we don't get any nasties in there while I'm cleaning. The fuel has obviously been squirting on the the frame here, because I think this is bitumen paint of some kind, and it's caused it to bubble quite a lot. So scrape it off here. It's very wet. Obvious on the underside of the fuel tank that the fuel has been squirting up here, and you can see the effect that it's had on the paint, caused it to bubble. So that's not good. And to get all of this gunk out from this top hat area, because there's lots of old flaking paint here and muck. I need to get out so I can rust proof it. It's just years and years of crud that's built up here. Right, let's get this fuel pump out of here and onto the workbench. That's a secure fit, at least on the inside. Right, that's the fuel pump off. You can see it's very wet on the outlet side. I'll replace those rubbers, refit. Now I've got the fuel pump on the workbench, I can give it a good look over. You can see it's been leaking quite a bit here. Let's remove these old rubber spaces. Oh well. It's pretty filthy. Well, at least the leaking petrol stopped these bolts from rusting completely. Right. Now I can actually read it. Not trying to make it look new, but certainly I want it to look better than it did. Take it off the car, put it back better. That's what I say. If it turns out that this is faulty, I can now at least see the part numbers, and then we will attach new rubber mounts to both sides and refit to the car. Time to fit the rubber feet. Right, that'll do. Before I fit it back to the buggy, I want to replace that ring connector there. That will do nicely. Now we need to connect this to the wire that goes through to the ignition. When they're connected, I'll slide that over the top and heat shrink it on so it forms a nice tight seal. This goes to the engine. Make sure it's nice and secure. Okay, I've decided that the end of this piece of hose is just far too damaged to put back on the fuel pump, so I'm going to remove this piece of hose, replace it. Right, I'm going to replace that. You can see it's a little bit too worse for wear. It's probably why it was leaking as well. And get a new piece. The brass clamp just wasn't quite tight enough, so I've gone for a Jubilee clip. I think it might require some additional work. So let's get that clamp on. Beautiful. And give it well, looking at the fuel line that comes out of the fuel tank to here, appears to me as if this is completely shot. I hope I can get that. So I'm going to have to replace this. It's very worn, perished. The fuel pump is refitted with new hoses from the tank to the inlet and the outlet of the fuel pump to the hardline, which runs underneath the car. Into this little connector I've prepared.